was talking to one of my students today, and my student told me, she said, Dr. Curt, you give away more information for free. Most people would put that information behind a paywall. And I told my student, I said, I really want people to win. And I understand that hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Curtis A. Merriweather Jr., and you can call me Dr. Curt. Now, the purpose of this channel is to help entrepreneurs overcome common business challenges. Now, the way we do this is through education, consultation, and training support services. Now, our training is based on 26 years of progressive experience and advanced education. Now, many of you are aware that a couple of weeks ago, I graduated with my Ph.D. in management. Now, I also have an MBA and a Master's of Science in Project Management. So when I teach, I can teach both the theoretical as well as the practical. So we can go deep into management, entrepreneurship, scholarship, or we can talk about how to get to the bag. But on this channel, I like to kind of mix a little bit of both, because I think both are valuable and are needed, but it has to be properly balanced. And I think we're uniquely qualified to do just that based on our experience as well as our education, so we can walk the walk and talk the talk with the best of them. Now, if you have not already, I want you to go to 8figuregovcon.com. I want you to take a look. I want you to look around. I want you to look at our flagship courses, specifically the 8-Figure Government Contracting Mastery 5X course, and our newly released course, the 8-Figure Government Contracting course for barbers and cosmetologists. Now, whether you are a barber or cosmetologist, that course is for you. But for everyone else, that 8-Figure Government Contracting Mastery course, that 5X bundle, is going to be the course for you. Now, it doesn't matter if you're new to government contracting or not. Doesn't matter if you have a business form. We're going to give you everything that you need to properly, safely, and effectively navigate the space. And we're going to help scale your capabilities up quickly. So I have students who have no prior business experience, not a problem. And I have some students who already have prior businesses and they're looking to pivot into the government contracting space. So wherever you are and anywhere in between, that's going to be a great course for you. Now, when you go on that website, I want you to eventually navigate to the 8-Figure Government Contracting Course Store Library, and that's where you'll be able to actually purchase the course. Now, if you have not already, I want you to smash the subscribe button. I want you to like. I want you to share. I want you to hit the notification bell. I want you to hit the notification bell so anytime we produce government contracting content, you will be notified most expeditiously. Okay, I want you to hit the notification bell so you can remain apprised of what we got going on in the government contracting world. Okay, as I do, as you guys know, I release videos every week regarding a variety of government contracting topics, and I do listen to my students as well as my subscribers to make sure we curate content that's gonna serve you well. So definitely be mindful of that. Now, today, I want to actually talk about some of the hidden struggles of government contractors. And I hope to really shine a light on some areas that as the government contracting community, especially my newer government contractors, that they should be mindful of. So I want to kind of bring your attention to some things that I want you to be thinking about and considering as you navigate the government contracting terrain. Okay. So today we're going to talk about reveal the hidden struggles of government contracting. There are a few things that I see a lot of my newer government contracting community members, not students and those outside, that are new to the space, that I see them quite frankly just struggling with. So I want to kind of bring your attention to these things so you can shore up these areas to make sure you don't find yourself spinning your wheels aimlessly trying to secure your first opportunity, whether that's prime or sub. It doesn't matter to me if you're entering this space as a prime whereas you're entering the space as a sub, these are the same challenges that I see. And let me just say this. There's a lot of social media putting focus and pressure on priming, which I teach and have definitely do as a business. We prime and sub. And I find a lot of newer businesses and entrepreneurs kind of snubbing their nose at subbing. But this is a great way to get in the game if you have no prior past experience. I'm seeing a lot of companies hanging around the HVAC, the janitorial space, and quite frankly, they're crowding the market. But if you're looking at becoming a differentiated business and really carving a lane and really providing some sustainable value and hopefully long-term exiting that business through an acquisition, which is what I hope you're all working toward. Now, here's the reality. A lot of these quote unquote coaches out here are teaching, and they're not setting a lot of students up for success. They're teaching students how to have short-term success, but that success is oftentimes not sustainable because the businesses, quite frankly, have not figured out how to differentiate themselves in the space and to build a business that's repeatable and scalable, and that someone else down the road, however far into the future, be willing to pay a premium for, because they recognize what you've built. You've established a solid culture. The company is differentiated. You got some core service offerings that someone is willing to pay a premium for, recognizing the hard work and the value you built in the company based on EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So someone in the future should be willing to buy your company based on EBITDA. And quite frankly, and that's a common term, you can Google it, EBITDA, EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So you got to build something that someone downstream wants to pay a premium for. So yes, we can get excited about the government contracting wins and, the multi-million-dollar awards or the six-figure awards, wherever you may be in your government contracting journey. But you're really going to capitalize and set yourself up for retirement through the exit. When you sell your business, either piece or a part or whole, to a third party, that's when you can sit back and really retire on the beach and never have to work again. Here's the magic number. $20 million after you pay for all your toys and buy your cars and your houses and all the things on your wish list. $20 million properly invested. You'll never have to work again unless you want to. Okay, now let's move into our topic for today. So we are talking about the hidden struggles of government contracting. Now, all of these struggles can be overcome, okay? But you have to move very strategically. And I want to bring attention to this. I made a video talking a couple weeks ago, talking about the language barrier. And that's one of the most difficult challenges for new businesses. Government contracting on its face is not hard. But what makes government contracting challenging is you learning the new language. Just like if I drop you off in a foreign country and you don't know the language, you're going to struggle navigating. Same is true in the government contracting space, in many other spaces for that matter. There's a certain vernacular, there's a certain verbiage that's being used in those spaces. And if you don't know it, you stand out, you stick out, you look like an outsider. But once you overcome that, I want to talk about some of the things that are challenging entrepreneurs. And this could be a seasoned entrepreneur, but you're new to the government contracting space, or you're new to business altogether and you're in the government contracting space. If you're in the government contracting space, it is a unique space. It's a very lucrative space, as many of you know. But first things first, when you're new to any space, government contracting included, you got to understand how your customer, in this case, the federal government or state government or local government, I'm a federal guy, as many of you know, you got to understand how the government works. Do you understand how your customer buys? So you must understand your customer. And I don't care what type of business you're in, if you're government contracting or if you're a shoe manufacturer, whatever. If you're in the automotive business and you detail cars, you need to understand your customers and what they want from you, period. If not, you're not going to be in business very long because you're not going to have any sales. It's no different here. Contracts are awarded in the federal space. You know, you can plug and play federal for state, local, commercial, doesn't matter. Again, I focus on this channel primarily federal government contracting, but the same rules apply, because a lot of what I'm teaching you guys are just pure business principles, and we're just applying them in the federal context. But contracts are awarded to address agency needs and pain. Government is awarding contracts to address their needs, mission critical or not, and their pain points, real or perceived. That's why contracts are being issued. So as the government contracting community, as an entrepreneur, you need to properly identify the pain points of your target customer, because we need to massage that pain. We need to prick the pain, and then we need to have a solution for the pain. It's not just enough to understand your customer's pain. You also need to have a solution. And this is what the government is really asking us to do in the proposal process. They're asking us to provide a solution. But let me keep moving, because I don't want to go down a rabbit trail. And then as we're able to identify the pain and the needs in the organizations that we service, we have to create value through our product and our service offerings. You have to create value through your product and service offerings. Why does the federal government need you? Why does your customer need your business? How are you making things easier? How are you improving operations from them? Are you making them more efficient? What are you doing to provide value? And then, of course, by providing value, we should be capturing value. Now, how do we capture value? That's through our profitability. But, you know, I find a whole lot of companies who don't understand their numbers, and they're not even capturing the value. Now, we're going to assume that you are delivering value. We're going to assume that. I recognize that that's not always happening. But we're going to assume you're delivering value. And so if you're delivering value, it's only right to capture value. But you got to understand how the government works. So when you hear these things in the news, you know how to respond. So whether you're hearing about austerity measures, this was very popular in the early 2010s, whether you're hearing about appropriation categories or colors of money, or continuing resolution, or the debt ceiling, or debt default, government shutdown, sequestration, whatever the issue of the day is, when you understand how your customer, the federal government and or agency, department, sub-agency, office, when you understand your customer, when you understand how they work and operate, you should be better equipped to navigate the headwinds and the terrain in this space. But if you don't know how the government works, if you don't understand your customer, if you don't understand that, then how do you navigate that terrain? You can't do that successfully. So it is incumbent upon you, government contractor, entrepreneur, to get an education in how your customer moves. Now, I went to the Defense Acquisition University when I was working for DOD, and I got a great education in how the federal government works. It was part of my job to understand colors of money and the procurement cycle, and how the government procures and makes product through the LRIP and full RIP and all these different processes that we had to learn when I was a government guy as a Defense Acquisition Workforce member. That was baked into what I did. And I took that very seriously. Didn't know that years later I'd find myself the founder of a government contracting firm, and that information was going to give me a huge advantage. But I'm a big believer in education, and you should be too, because now that doesn't mean you got to sit in the formal classroom, but you need to always be bettering your best and refining. Your success in any space is going to be based on the edge that you have. See, it's not just enough to know stuff. You got to be able to apply it. And wisdom is knowledge applied. But let me keep moving. I don't want to get on a rabbit trail. I want to get this information out to you, and I don't want this video to be super long, because I want you to go back and watch some of my other videos. So number one, it is important to understand how the government works. You can take the government out and say, understand how your customer works. This is why government contractors struggle. They don't even understand their customer. Number two, you got to understand the contract requirement. When you see an RFP, request for proposal, or an RFQ, request for quote, on the street, you need to understand the requirement. Now, typically in federal contracting, a little different from state and local, but in federal contract, typically the statement of work, or also known as a performance work statement, or SOW or PWS, statement of work, SOW, performance work statement, and PWS. They're slightly different, but we're just going to keep it simple. That outlines the requirement. Now, if all you know about that agency, because you found this thing on sam.gov under contract opportunities, if all you know about that agency is what you read in the statement of work, you behind the eight ball. You are in an inferior position. Now, I can't say that people in inferior positions don't win contracts, because they do. However, they have a very difficult time maintaining those contracts, because typically they don't understand the requirement. They got lucky. And sometimes people get lucky. I don't want you winning contracts based on luck. I want you to be able to successfully and skillfully navigate the terrain. And when you don't understand contract requirements, typically you don't understand realistic pricing. You should know and understand the requirements you're bidding on intimately, what's even written behind the SOW, because the SOW is just a snapshot, but you should be able to derive a technical approach based on the statement of work. So you should be able to take the statement of work and get on the whiteboard or a sheet of paper or the back of a napkin, wherever you want to do it, and you should be able to sketch out a solution to their problem based on what's written in the statement of work. Now, if you can't do that, you might not need to be bidding on that contract. I'm just saying. Now, let's talk about what's not in the contract requirement document or statement of work. And this is what you have to understand. The culture of the organization. It's not going to be outlined. They may give you a mission and vision, but you have no indication on culture. You're not going to read on any government website about the culture of the organization. You're not. And every agency, every department, and every sub-agency, the culture is different. Even if you go to, let's pick on DOD. You go to Department of Defense. The culture is different at Navy than it is the Air Force. Let's pick on DHS, or Department of Health and Human Services. The culture at CDC is going to be different than the culture at CMS. Go to the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. TSA's culture is going to be different from the culture at Customs, Border and Protection, or CBP. What are the power dynamics inherent in that organization? Do you know? Do you understand them? Do you understand? Matter of fact, does the money flow through the bottom of the organization or top down? That tells you a lot about where the power is in the organization. What is the organizational structure of that customer? We're talking about understanding the contract requirements. Is it a classical based organization structure? Is it a project based organization? Is it a weak matrix, strong matrix? We're talking about power dynamics and the organizational structure and the money flow, how the money flows to the organization, bottom up or top down, says a lot about where the power resides in the organization. Now, again, when I read my statement of work, my customer requirements, my contract requirements, I should be able to outline a technical approach. You said, what is a technical approach? A technical approach speaks to how you're going to solve the needs, the problems, the pain points. And again, those pain points may not be documented of that organization. So one of the things we do in proposals, we like to speak to the pain points. Now, the pain points comes from customer intimacy, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Time I spend on the ground, listening, listening to the ground. Getting down to the ear and kind of reading the tea leaves and really understanding the terrain of where I think the trends are, and the organizational constraints and the environmental effects driving that organization. Now, at a minimum, when I get the statement of work, I should be to come up with a work breakdown structure. Here are the tasks need to be completed. And I should be to come up with a hierarchy of what that team on that contract should look like, how it's going to be led, who are the members on the team, and what are the tasks that need to be fulfilled to successfully execute against this contract. And I need to actually be able to put together a project management plan. I need to be to determine what the critical path or the critical chain of this project is, whether it's product-based or services-based. I need to know what my critical path is, because the critical path tells me the things that can be modified and the things that cannot be modified, and not increase my cost or prolong the schedule of this contract if everything else stays equal. And then when I look at your technical approach, I should be to derive a management approach for how I'm going to manage this contract to make the contract requirements a reality for the customer. These are the things that we need to be able to do. And if you're not quite able to do this, you may want to start out subbing. There's nothing wrong with subbing. That is a great way to understand the terrain. Now, if you're ready to prime, then welcome to the big leagues. But that's not where most people coming off the street are ready to go, although they think they are. Moving along. Number 3, talking about where our government contractors struggle, they have to develop customer intimacy. Does your customer know who you are? Do they know who you are? Do they even know the name of your organization before you submit a proposal submission if you're trying to prime? Or it's the first time they're hearing about you is when that document comes across their desk and they know nothing about you. That is not a power position to be. Now, I understand you can't win any contracts you don't bid, but you want to put yourself in as much of a power position as possible. And you want some name recognition before you spend all that time, money, and effort putting in a proposal. Because see, many of you have put in proposal after proposal after proposal after proposal after proposal. You still haven't won, not once. What are your differentiators as a business? And don't tell me I don't have any differentiators. Yes, you do. We all have a fingerprint. All of our fingerprints are different and unique. Your business does not have the same members in your business that the next business has. So there's some inherent differentiation that's occurring in your business, but can you identify them, and then can you explain them to the customer? Now, why are differentiators important? Because this is what determines why you should be picked among the crowd. What makes you unique? Why do you go to Chick-fil-A over McDonald's? It's because of Chick-fil-A's differentiators. You don't go to Chick-fil-A expecting McDonald's service and vice versa. They are both are in fast food. Both are in fast food, but they're both unique in their service delivery model. Their pricing structures are unique. And as a customer, you know what you're going to expect from Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's. But does your customer know what to expect from you? Whether prime or sub, does not matter. Why should the customer, whether you're priming or subbing, so whether we're talking about a federal agency picking you or a large prime picking you, why should they pick you? You're not the first. You're not going to be the last IT company. You're not the first. You're not going to be the last data science company. You're not the first. You're not going to be the last Intel company or whatever it is that you do. You're not the first. You're not going to be the last logistics company, transportation. Plug in whatever business you're in. You're not the first, and you're not going to be the last. So out of all of the competition, why are they going to pick you? What is your business known for? See, the customer has a perception, hopefully. I understand some of you haven't done this before, but if you've been in the space for a while, there's a perception about your business. And is that perception real? Is it accurate, or is it misplaced? And regardless of where you're positioned in the market, you have to either correct that or maintain the status you built in the space. It's very hard to build reputation, but very easy to kill. That right there can be a whole video by itself. I'm gonna keep moving. You have to develop robust relationships or customer intimacy before problems occur. It's not a matter of if, your contract has a problem. It's a matter of when. And I can do a whole video on project management and how we manage those relationships, but I'm not tonight for time. But if you want to see a video on relationship building strategy from government contractors, there's a great video on my YouTube channel called Relationship Building for Government Contractors. Go watch it. Go watch it. And it'll give you some insight on how to build relationships. But let's keep moving. I want to be mindful of the time. Number 4, government contractors struggle because they either fail to or they don't establish robust networks. Who's on your team? So your network speaks to who's in your sphere, who's in your orb, both internal and external. What are the relationships that you have? We're talking about networks. So when you talk about your team, maybe you got an advisory group. This could be a board of advisors, a board of directors. The board of directors is a little more than advisory. They got some saying power in the organization. They actually drive the organization. They pick the CEO, CFO. They pick the C-suite, but you get the idea. And then what mentors do you have? What mentors do you have that can serve as advisory for you and the direction of the company? And I'm going to say the path of least resistance is probably the advisory board. Now, you do need to compensate them, at least maybe not right away, especially for my newer companies, but they're going to give you insight. You don't want to just put anybody on the advisory board. They want to be people with expertise in this space, known leaders in the space. The best leadership you can get is going to help give you guidance and help you read the tea leaves and ride the terrain successfully in different industries. So you want industry leaders and veterans, seasoned, to serve as top cover that can see further down the road than you can. So you got your advisory group. Then you got your internal employees. This might be accounting, finance, human resources, your subject matter experts or your SMEs, and then your talent acquisition. This is just a list. You may have your frontline supervision team. You got the folks actually doing the work, the wrench turners. You want to have your internal employees, and you also have your strategic partners. Now, if you don't get anything else from me, and I know, I was one of the first ones when you're talking about similarly situated firms, and I start talking about the 5149, and I was talking about making sure that you do the majority of the work, and that's a risk hedge as well, because what you don't want is to be overly reliant on subcontractors, because they will make you vulnerable and make you susceptible, especially if it's not properly controlled. I talked about stakeholder engagement in prior videos, identifying and managing and engaging your stakeholders, and subcontractors would be a form of stakeholder. They can make you vulnerable, because here's the reality. The name of that prime contractor is on the dotted line. That's who the government is going to hold responsible. They're not going to hold your subcontractors responsible when they don't perform, but their lack of performance is going to negatively impact you. And you don't believe me? Get into a riff with your subcontractor, and what if that subcontractor has a significant amount of the workforce and they don't show up to work? Do you think your customer is going to be happy with you? Do you think you're going to maintain great customer intimacy? Do you think them not showing up is going to help you fulfill your customer requirements? I'm just saying. Strategic partners. This is your large and small business strategic partners. These are the people you go after work with. Now, you're not overly reliant on them, but they may serve some roles and fit some niche categories that your business just doesn't provide. These contracts are large, and everything on the contract may not be the sweet spot or the core competency or core capability of your company. So it's nothing wrong with partners. However, there is something wrong with an over-reliance on partners. Because these large partners will try to strong arm you. They would try to get an unfavorable advantage over you. I can do a whole video just on that. Now, this is not something I was talking about just this year. I've been talking about this for over a decade because I've watched it. Remember, I worked for the federal government before I became the founder of a government contracting firm. And as a government employee and a program manager in the government space, on the government side, I watched small businesses being strong armed by large primes. But I digress. So you got your large and small business partners. You got maybe you're going through an M&A, or you're looking at acquiring. Maybe you're a large organization. You might be, some of your strategic partners may be investment bankers. Then you got your legal professionals. This is your employment lawyers who help you come up with your employee handbooks and making sure that the company is protecting itself from an employee perspective, and making sure that they're not going to be prone for litigation in the event of an employee departure. Being able to hold those employees legally accountable for doing what's outlined in your standard operating procedures, and making sure you have the proper protection. Are you abiding by the employment laws in your state as well as on the federal side? Your government contracting attorneys to help you parse the FAR and understand your non-disclosure, your teaming agreements, and your subcontracting docs, making sure force majeure and all these different indemnification, and making sure all these clauses are in place to give you accurate and adequate protection from known and unknown challenges that may arise in this government contracting journey. Then you got your proposal shops, because maybe your business is not quite large enough yet to have a fully dedicated proposal writer and proposal manager. Your recruiting firms for my service-based businesses that are looking for staff, and even my product companies. When you get larger, you may want to recruit and hire a specific type of talent that may be difficult for you to recruit and retain on your own. So you may want to get the support of an executive search firm, or a talent agency, or a recruiting company that can help you, a staffing agency. And then last but not least, government contractors struggle because they don't understand how to establish their pricing structures properly. And I've did not a lot, but I've did a couple videos on pricing. I'm gonna just talk about it very briefly. Do you understand your direct labor? Do you understand your overhead, your general and administrative cost, and then your fringe pool? And then I didn't put it on here because it goes without saying, you have to be profitable when you do this. You have to put the money that comes in the right bucket. I do not want to see you bid in a contract only to find out that you don't have enough money because you didn't understand your pricing. You didn't understand how to calculate a wrap rate. You didn't know who to put on your team, part of your network to help you with this. Now, as the entrepreneur, you have a lot of responsibility, and you can't do this alone, but you have to do it smartly. And I want you to recruit and rely on your internal team. And I don't want you overly relying on subcontractors, because it's going to create a vulnerability for you. I'm not telling you something I read in a book. I'm telling you what I know, what I've seen, both on the government and on the contractor side of the house. You're not the first person to do this. There's no magic bullets in this space, as much as you may want to believe that. But that's all I want to cover in this video. I hope you found this content helpful. But I just want to give you a quick recap before I wrap up. You need to understand how the government works, because that's your customer. You need to understand the contract requirements. These are going to be typically outlaid in Section C of your solicitation documents or your request for proposal, and it's even going to be in your request for quote. You have to develop customer intimacy. You have to develop and establish robust networks, and you have to understand and establish pricing opportunities properly. Now, if you're doing the things I just mentioned, you're going to be far ahead of the pack. You're going to be on your way to not a one and done, or because I need you to know, most businesses fail within 3 to 5 years. And I don't want you to be that business. But doing the things I'm talking about today are going to help you to have sustainability, repeatability, scalability, and position you for an exit downstream. I'm not enamored by the large contract awards up front. I'm more enamored by your ability to maintain and sustain and grow effectively in the space. Do you have infrastructure to manage these contracts you're going after? Now, the first contract you go after, you may not have that infrastructure in place, but over time, I'm expecting to see, especially my students, I'm expecting to see that infrastructure grow and improve. And I'm expecting also to see less and less and less over time reliance on subcontractors and consultants. I want businesses to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Because the last question you want a large prime who's stepping to you to say is, why do we need you? And unfortunately, many people using some of the strategies that I detest. This is the question on the minds of the government and on the minds of the subcontractors that are supporting them. What's your role? Why are you even needed? That is a disaster for the runaround, the cost avoidance unsolicited proposal, where your spot is being challenged. That's what paves the way for contract turnover. I want to see you execute your base and all your option years. But far too many companies are not even completing their base year because either they were advised wrong or there was ignorance, and there's too much information out here. Now, you got to be very careful where you get your information from. There's too much information out here for you to be running a company that's ill prepared and serious knowledge gaps, failure to understand the requirements, lack of understanding the pricing. There's too much knowledge out here, but you have to be smart enough to know where you should be getting the knowledge from. And hopefully I'm leveling the playing field and at least providing a source where you can trust that we're going to give you authoritative data. You know, I was talking to one of my students today, and my student told me, she said, Dr. Curt, you give away more information for free. Most people would put that information behind a paywall. And I told my student, I said, I really want people to win. And I understand that businesses are at different levels of maturity, and they may not be quite ready to invest in their business education and in their business, in themselves and their businesses yet. So I want to give them enough to keep moving. But at some point, you have to invest in your business if you want it to grow, thrive, and sustain, and to be a credible target for future acquisition. But that's all I want to share with you guys today. I want you to have a great day, and I want you to go back and watch some of my other videos. I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Until next time.